Okay, it's fitting that we're here at the Italian-American Museum here in Cleveland, Little Italy, speaking with someone very proud of his Italian heritage, Tom Berardinelli. Tom, good to see you. How you doing today?
Doing good, Dan, and very blessed.
You know, I think we first met when you were volunteering for the Italian Cultural Garden many, many years ago.
True. I did resign 25 years last year. I did that, and I loved it, and it was just time to move on.
Yeah. So tell me a little about your history. You're a Cleveland guy, right?
Cleveland guy all my life, Collinwood, Euclid, split them up evenly, those two cities, and finished my career with the city of Cleveland forestry for the last 15 years of my 30-year, I should say, 45 years I worked as an arborist forester, but got 30 years in with the state pension.
Wow, see, the arborist tied right in with that Italian Cultural Garden, which is, you know, I don't play favorites, I can't, but it's certainly one of the best, if not the best garden in that chain.
So true, one of the best in the country, as you know, and knowing this city as the forest city, and I even worked for them in my private career for about 5 years. So yeah, it's a great city, I love it. I just had to move because of the sale of Euclid Beach Park.
So you've been in the neighborhood forever, Collinwood and Euclid, and of course we're here in Little Italy, and this is like a second home to you, right? I mean,
yes, it is.
Tell about some of your haunts here, going to the feast or various parades. And
like everybody, I enjoy the feast, and actually I think a lot of people enjoy the Columbus Day Parade more because it's like laid back. I've been in the Columbus Day Parade for about 20 years since Mr. Russo brought it up on the hill. Never missed one with the parade, and love it, you know.
Yeah. It's and the feast, there's nothing like it.
Beautiful. It's fantastic. You just got to know when to come in, because it's like massive, and but it feels good though to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a great neighborhood, and it's great to see things like this with the Italian American Museum of Cleveland, with Pam and Dorazio Dean, and what Basil Russo and his crew are doing to not only maintain the neighborhood, but to really enhance it.
I agree. Knowing Bill, but knowing Mr. Russo and Pamela all our lives, they are the industry leaders in our Italian-American culture, really nationwide, as you know, with Basil Russo.
Oh, yeah.
And then Pamela's she's getting there. She went to the White House, I know, last year, so big time.
Yeah, that's something. You know, tell us a little about your family. Brothers, sisters, parents?
Yes, of course, our parents are all gone. My mother and my father, and I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and I have a baby sister. Of course, she works at the restaurant as well, and very close family. We're very blessed that we have gotten along all these years. You know, we'll all be in our 70s soon.
You know, it's interesting, you say the restaurant, and people may think knowing your name, you know, it'd be Berardinelli or something like that. But of course it's not. It's Maxim's. And where did Maxim come from?
Well, when my Uncle Joe was boxing, he started at 12, but before he turned pro, Uncle Joe's left hand was known as the maximum gun in the World War II. The German maximum gun, and it was so quick, and they gave him that name, Joey Maxim. And so the restaurant, the deli in the beginning, became that name, Maxim's Pizza. And then my father and my brother, who made that business what it is today with the great team of family, they just kept building on it, and very proud of that.
You know, going to St. Joe's, walk down the street, and even years after, I'll go to Maxim's for a slice or more, and I'll had no idea of the connection and the fame and the importance of that name. And you know, when I think personally of some of the great Italian-American boxers, of course, you know, you have to look at Rocky Marciano, undefeated. You know, I mean, you could make a case for him being the GOAT. You know, I would have loved to seen a fight with him and Muhammad Ali sometime. That would have been something. And, Rocky Graciano,
Oh, they're great.
of course, right here in Youngstown, we had Ray Mancini, Boom Boom Mancini, and people know the story of Jake LaMotta from the movies,
Absolutely.
and Rocky Balboa, of course, and all that. But here in Cleveland especially, but around the world, we've got another champion here. We've got and he's a relative, and you're alluding to his jabs, and it's Joey Maxim.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about Joey.
Well, Uncle Joe was never known as a knockout puncher. Maybe a fifth of his fights out of his 115 fights, career fights, professionally, he had about maybe a fifth knockouts. But he was just a very, very good scientific, technical boxer, and like a Sugar Ray Robinson. And Sugar Ray Robinson was the GOAT of the greatest boxers of that time, and still to this day. And Uncle Joey he beat him in the Yankee Stadium in 1952, and it was a very historical thing for my Uncle Joe, because Sugar Ray was the greatest pound for pound, and still to this day they say. But Uncle Joe, he just loved the fight. Him and my father, like I say, were a year apart, almost a couple weeks apart of that year, and they fought all the time until my Uncle Joe got good enough at 12 and 13 in the Golden Gloves. My dad, he couldn't mess with him anymore, and he was a year older. And so he just loved to fight. He was born to fight. And when he won the 1949 American Light Heavyweight Championship, he bought the business and told my father, Manny Emanuel, to run it. And my father always ran and eventually owned it all there. We're in our 76th year now. And my brother owns it now, and his wife, and the family all works it. And they made that business what it is today. And but yeah, Uncle Joe went on to the 1950. He went on to the London, England, and he knocked out the world's light heavyweight champion, Freddie Mills. And he left 3 teeth of Freddie Mills in his glove.
Wow.
In the left glove. This is true. I mean, it's all written. But so he had a storied career. Almost 20 years he fought professionally, and he lost it in 1952, the light heavyweight championship of the world, to Archie Moore, who was definitely the GOAT of the light heavyweight division. And back then, in the day, they all fought heavyweights, and my uncle fought all the heavyweights except Joe Louis, which they were going to fight, and Rocky Marciano and my uncle were best friends. And Rocky didn't want to fight, which maybe would have been a good thing. But Rocky was here all the time, and he used to come into our place on 105th Street. After their profession, they get into these enterprises, and they, sponsor,
Wow.
products. And so, yeah, Uncle Joe, they were best of friends. But it's a good thing they didn't fight. But he would have fought Joe Louis, and we're glad he didn't, Dan, because Joe Louis was over his prime, and really didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
Like Marciano felt bad when he beat Rocky Marciano. When he beat Joe Louis, he felt bad, because they were idols.
Sure. So, your Uncle Joe Giuseppe, he's just a kid from Collinwood, right? I mean, he got involved with the Golden Gloves, like you said, like a lot of kids did, but he had something special.
Yes, and I mean, you mentioned that about that generation, that era, that depression, 30s to the 40s. Everybody fought Golden Gloves around the country, and my dad said there was tens of thousands of them, and at these bouts, they were just massive. And people fought to maybe more or less, not so much to make a living, but just to survive, because many of them were immigrants from their countries. And my dad, my Uncle Joe and his family, they were the first Italian Americans, so their parents were immigrants, just a fight to survive and to...
that's a great point. You hear the story, you never hear of rich kids or communities that are very wealthy and secure getting into boxing. You'll see waves, when the Jews came over and they were impoverished and picked on and all, you had your Jewish boxers. Mm-hmm. You had a wave of Irish boxers.
Definitely.
You had the Italians here with your uncle and others. You had, the African Americans then, and now you get the Hispanics and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's really, it almost ties into when a community came here they're trying to struggle to make something better for them and their family. Boxing is not an easy thing.
It's one of the most rigorous, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, and there is truth to it. It definitely is the pugilistic syndrome, and I still believe that Muhammad Ali, he got all that. They call it Parkinson's disease, but they all got the pugilistic syndrome, you know. And Uncle Joey was fairly good till the near end, probably in his 70s. Then he started to get a little bit that way, but he was really good up into those late years. And people say, well, you didn't get hit much. Everybody got hit.
Yeah.
You didn't get hit much. You're a boxer. You're going to get hit.
Yeah, every shot to the head, and you know, one of the things is such a tough generation. These guys were so tough. You mentioned his fight against Sugar Ray Robinson in Yankee Stadium, and I was reading about it. And I guess the temperature was something like 110 degrees. And they even had to bring in a second ref.
Correct.
It was so hot. And it was a record heat wave. And they went, up to 14 rounds.
Yes, they did, because he didn't answer the 14th round bell, Sugar Ray. And here's the thing, because Sugar Ray, he said the heat got him. And, they were in great condition, but the heat got him. And my Uncle Joe come back and was written in the newspapers, what did I have, air conditioning in my corner?
Exactly.
So that's just an old statement, which is true. And so, hey, I think any fighter can be beat on any given day, and any athlete just about can be beat on any day.
Yeah.
We know Rocky has a perfect record, but any athlete can pretty much get beat.
I think another Cleveland boxer that your uncle might have fought is Jimmy Bivens.
He fought 4 times.
Really?
And Uncle Joe, he was the only one that ever got knocked out in the amateur ranks. Jimmy Bivens did it.
Really?
And the professional ranks, only 1 time he got knocked out. And he fought all the heavyweights. In the light heavyweights, he fought this guy, Curtis Hatchetman Shepard, Dan. The first fight, he beat him. The second fight, Curtis knocked my uncle out first round. He was out for like 15 minutes, I understand. And then they fought 3 weeks later. My uncle beat him easily. So yeah, you can get hit with a shot. You can get hit with a shot. But 3 weeks later he fought.
Oh my God.
And then he beat him, easily. But yeah, I mean, they're pros. You get the good shots coming at you, and if you're not protected. But I know Sugar Robinson lost 20 pounds, I heard, in that event. And I thought my uncle lost about 12 pounds, I understand, with that heat. And still a record to this day. And,
You wonder about modern athletes, if they could do that stuff, or they'd stop fights, or they'd prevent it from happening, or they'd shorten the rounds, certainly.
Yeah, I know.
I remember what happened with Boom Boom Mancini with the Korean kid.
Correct.
It's a tragedy.
Correct.
I don't know if Boom Boom was ever the same after that.
They say they stopped the 15 rounds at 12 or 10 after that. Because when Sugar Ray Robinson had that premonition that he was going to kill that fighter, and he tried to cancel the fight, you probably know the story, but it ended up going on, and the guy died. And the guy was from Cleveland, I understand.
Really?
The guy he beat, yes, Doyle. I think his last name was Doyle, but yeah.
We casually say these names, but it's really it's a who's who of boxing history. He's fought people like Sugar Ray Robinson, Jersey Joe Walcott, Ezra Charles, Archie Moore, Floyd Patterson. Even
those were all the greatest of that era, and Uncle Joe beat every one of them. Jersey Joe Walcott, really twice he beat.
Wow.
But when they're the champ, you have to knock him out to get that win.
Yeah.
Just like with Archie Moore, my uncle fought 2 more times after he took the world's crown away from him in 1952. They fought 2 more times after that. And Uncle Joe won that last one. And, my father was there and family. And you have to knock out the champ to get that win. That's a true story in most cases. So he fought all the greatest, and outside of Marciano and Lewis, but, we're proud, we're proud of that. And so we've always supported the Golden Gloves all my adult life because of our family history. And I'm very involved in the Golden Gloves. We have a great president here in Cleveland with that new Joey Maxim gym they just named last year.
Oh, really? Where's that?
I got pamphlets, and that's the one at 49th and 51st and Superior in St. Clair, out of the OTC complex. And last year, they proclaimed it the new Joey Maxim boxing gym. Golden Glove president, he's retired Cleveland police officer, great guy, a lot of energy, and he's got a great team. Mr. Rick Lasada, great guy, and he's getting all these kids involved again, and he's got a great boxing camp going on. But yeah, because he grew up in the family, meaning down on East 105th Street, this Rick Lasada, and he met my uncle, so he's always been a big fan of his, and everyone agreed, even the old timers that are still involved, that hey, maybe we should name this the Joey Maxim boxing gym. And I would love to see Jimmy Bivens get in on there too, because he was amongst the greatest as well, Jimmy Bivens.
Well, you're going to have thousands of people watching you talk here, Tom, so maybe someone's going to pick up on Jimmy Bivens and, we'll make that happen.
And Rick knows about it, because I did talk to him about it a number of times. Since they were from Cleveland, since they fought about 4 times, I would just like to see, and he's got pictures in that of Jimmy Bivens in there. And I met Jimmy Bivens very, very close to him, and I went to his funeral because he was a great guy. And him and Uncle Joe hit it off, after their fighting careers. And I don't know if you want me to put this up or...
Yeah, that's great right there. Oh, that's nice. There's a story when Johnny Kildane, the Irish fighter, won the championship in like 1915 or something, and there tens of thousands came to Public Square. Did your uncle get in the Italian community and the broader community, get the acclaim that he really deserved? Or
I'm glad you brought that up, because we got to know the family very well, even though he was 1911 to 1922, he was the world's featherweight champion, Johnny Kildane. So he got huge public parade down at the Terminal Tower because of the Irish contingency here, and he worked for the city. And so I found out they had about like 250,000 people down there. It was on St. Patrick's Day.
Well,
they knew what they were doing. And no, great fighter. So when my Uncle Joe had he had a big parade at the Terminal Tower in 1952 when he came back from London. And it was a convertible they rode in. Place was packed. Johnny Kildane was in the seat with him.
Oh,
so it was so cool.
Oh, that's a great
It was so cool. Yeah, but it was nothing like...
Mutual respect there.
Yeah. And nothing like LeBron had, the million, they say.
Yeah.
So today's sports is just out of sight, you know that. So.
Yeah.
But yes, they did. The Irish were here first, and so they have a huge contingency and very involved. The Italians, I feel, sometimes in some instances don't rally around them too much in the certain areas. But we got a great Italian-American community here. There's no doubt about it. But
what do you think? What do you think your uncle would think of? Boxing has really evolved. It's MMA and it's cage fights, and it's very different. And the traditional boxing has kind of gone away. It's not as popular, but at the pro level, what people want to see. What do you think he'd think? It's a natural evolution, or you'd wish it was, back how it was, or?
Yeah, I would say it's nothing like it used to be, but there's some great athletes out there today in all sports. It's amazing, and I don't think he would, enjoy it as much. The crazy thing is you had Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier had their daughters fight professionally.
Yeah.
My Uncle Joe had 2 daughters, and that's it. One's still surviving, and I know he wouldn't approve of them fighting,
Yeah.
But I don't know, he wouldn't enjoy it as much. And the MMA is such a different type of fights, that's for sure. I think it's too brutal. I think boxing's brutal. I think those guys get beat up so bad, maybe they don't fight as long. But
Yeah. So we have a Collinwood kid, Giuseppe Antonio Berardinelli, but to the world, outside of your family and all, the world, it's Joey Maxim, the world light heavyweight champ for a few years. It's quite a story.
Yeah, from 49 to 53, pretty much with the American and the worlds he held, and taken from by Archie Moore, which I say again, the GOAT. That guy had an impressive record, just like Sugar Ray Robinson, probably one of the 2 greatest records in boxing. I have to mention about Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali loved my uncle in respect of his boxing abilities. He really did. And that famous Muhammad Ali boxing camp in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, has all the great names, the greatest fighters on the rocks. And I was watching Johnny Carson in the early 70s in the show Marciano, Joe Louis, Jack Johnson, and all the greats. I've seen my Uncle Joe Maxim on the rock. So he knew, he knew greatness, that was nice, and of that era, because these athletes today are unbelievable. Maybe they don't have the heart as much as the old timers, but they're great athletes today.
Well, yeah, the hype machine is so increased now, in the medical care and the promotions and the, it's just a whole different, the physical characteristics, You look at someone like LeBron, he's just a physical specimen that didn't exist.
It's a phenom, no doubt.
Yeah. But pound for pound, some of these guys back then, as good as anyone ever. Like you say, the GOATs, Sugar Ray and,
Yep, Archie Moore.
All right. So we're going to keep looking at some of this proud Italian heritage, especially centered around your Uncle Joey Maxim, and do some follow-ups and tell some of these great stories, because they deserve. Those were tough dudes. They often had to have other jobs. It wasn't having a staff of 20 working on them and massaging them and giving them cryogenic treatments and all that. They went to their job, and then they had to go,
absolutely,
run around, and then they got their brains beat in or beat someone else's brains in. Right, so it's a greatest generation type thing, and
I agree.
So you got to be proud. The Italian American community's proud. Cleveland's proud.
Yeah, and all the athletes back then, they had a second job, as you mentioned, and because they didn't get much, they didn't make much, and my Uncle Joe would cringe until the end of time when he passed in 201, and he said, man, I was a little too late. You know the story.
Yeah.
So
some of those purses, yeah.
Because a lot of those managers, they really robbed from they really did. The managers robbed all the boxers, and even probably some other sports, but yeah, it was a tough fighting game. And the Mafia did control, in the early years, the Mafia did control the boxing.
You can see that. Well, like I said, we're in the right place. We're in the Italian American Museum of Cleveland here in Little Italy, and we've got Tom Berardinelli, who's doing a great job representing for his Uncle Joey Maxim and his community. It's great to talk to you today, Tom, and we're looking forward to getting that next slice out at the new location of Maxim's out in Menor, right?
Absolutely, and you have a meal ticket. You got a meal ticket coming.
All right, good to talk to you, Tom.